everybody. My name is Dr. Ryan Ross. I'm the president and CEO of the Urban Leadership Foundation of Colorado, also known as ULFC, located in Denver. So the Urban Leadership Foundation, for many years, we've been about leadership development. We've been about exploring the lived experiences of Blacks and African Americans here in Colorado and really trying to get to the root of what's causing the inequities and making sure that individuals can thrive, right? And as we've been doing that work, one of the things that became profoundly clear was there's more than inequity. There's a different lack, a spiritual lack, a physical lack. And we believe that was connected to not necessarily having a connection to our culture, to our heritage. And so from that, the International Leadership Experience was born, right? And so what we've decided to do is we want to curate this experience where Blacks and African Americans can go back to Africa and have an experience in several areas. Like one of that is just it being personal, right? When somebody gets there and touches the ground and just knows that there's a connectivity, a connection, that our culture and our experiences bigger than us, right? For education and research purposes, what's actually happening, demystifying some of the myths, right? They're not third world or shithole countries as some people might want to mention, right? There's business opportunities. There is just the back to the connectivity point, understanding culture and traditions, being able to go back and make those connections and learn about our rich traditions and bring those back only makes us stronger as a community. And it also helps us deal with the different inequity and health disparities and social determinants of health that we experience here that are causing us a lack in our mind, body, and soul.
Hi, I'm Brittany Wingfield, Associate Publisher of the Denver Urban Spectrum. I decided to return to Africa. Really just as a Black woman, I always felt that it was something I needed to do, something I have to do eventually. I didn't really put a time limit on it, but I wanted to have this experience for myself and, just really see, is there a sense of self going there? I just felt it was in alignment with what I had been doing as, traveling and learning about myself.
Hi, my name is Nicole Jones, and I am a workforce innovator. I am the owner of Elite Workforce Solutions, and I also work for the city, and I'll oversee all the youth program for the airport. I decided to go on the African Leadership Experience with the Urban Leadership Foundation because there was a part of me that always wanted to see what exactly was it that made me me. I knew that I had to be a part of this trip because one, the people that were going, obviously this is a great group. Two, I wanted to make sure that my first time being at home on that soil was an experience that was like no other. I didn't want to just go as a tourist. I didn't want to just go to vacation. I wanted to go to learn. And that's exactly what I got.
Hello, my name is Ahmad Lowe. I am with the Urban Leadership Foundation of Colorado. Our initial arrival in Ghana, obviously, through some of the challenges that we had making it, seeing that they were so excited and welcoming, regardless that they had been waiting for us to arrive, I think it spoke to the high esteem that they held us in. It was just so different from arriving at just an airport and getting in a taxi and going to a hotel. There was an entire ceremony. Nothing stopped the show the time that they had been waiting. So it was really uplifting to know that you were welcomed in such an open fashion.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Cass. I am a lawyer in Denver, Colorado. I am a top 50 writer nationally on racism and diversity, and I'm on the executive board of the Urban Leadership Foundation of Colorado. Ghana probably had the biggest impact on me. To be able to go and see exactly where the blood and the sweat and the people who were transported as slaves, many who didn't make it past those platforms, and to walk on that ground was really impactful to me. I think something really incredible happened while I was walking in the slave castles. I have a close friend in town who's a black pastor, and he texted me. He didn't know I was in Ghana, and he texted me and he said, "Guess where I am right now?" And I said, "Where?" He goes, "I am with my two 20-year-old sons visiting a concentration camp where Jewish people were slaughtered." And he did not know where I was. And I texted him a picture of the slave castles, and I said, "I am visiting your trauma at the same time." And I got chills, because that's what we all need to do, is to better understand each other, to better empathize, to better understand some of the impact that people have in the trauma today. We need to know the history, and we need to know it about each other.
See this? This is feces, this is urine, this is blood, sweat, tears, saliva, and a whole lot mixed with soil. And the whole floor was covered like this. Because I just told you, about 115 years they used this dungeon, they never cleaned it.
Good afternoon. My name is Hanifa Chaku, and I'm with the Ketone Cares Foundation. I wanted to go to Africa because I have never been outside of the continental United States. And I always had made a vow years ago, when I make my first steps outside this country, I wanted them to be in Africa. So I look at this as like serendipity. I was able to make my first steps in Ghana, which were like the point of no return. And it was just a wonderful experience. Going to Africa was very much a profound and emotional experience, because to look around and to be in a land where everybody looks like you, the different levels, the different hues of blackness, and to know that we're not in the minority, we're in the majority. It was just riding on the bus, going to the different places, just looking at the people and the busyness, and just thinking, we're in a full circle moment, because somewhere along the times, centuries and centuries and centuries ago, my ancestors were taken from this land and brought to the United States, and through the evolutions of time and space that we've encountered and things we've done here, I, as their daughter, granddaughter, great, whatever, had made the sojourn back.
So being able to go to Africa has been a remarkable and rewarding experience for me. First and foremost, it's that cultural connection. And this last time going there, I was able to connect with the Ga tribe and actually find my roots. And in part of finding the roots, I was inducted into the tribe and have official responsibilities. And that was just a surreal experience, because the gravity of the connection and the openness and the grace and the, hey, you're family, you're a part of us. Like, unfortunately, that's not an everyday experience or feeling for Blacks and African Americans here in America. That's just the truth. And so being able to go there and have that kind of feeling just gave me the strength to want to come back and not only connect more, learn more, but really bridge the gap between the African American community and the African community that's here, because we're family. And though there are some differences in terms of how people were raised or what people experience, we're one. And so it's a really unique thought to understand that we're not monolithic, but we're one. And thinking about what we can do united, and what we can do if we understand each other's narratives and understand what's going on.
The market was one of my most joyous places. I could go there every day, spend days, dollars. They would take all my money daily. I've been to some of the most beautiful malls in the world. I've also been to some of the most interesting flea markets down in LA. That was different. That was us.
One of the highlights for me was the food. I'm always down for a good meal, and I travel to eat. I feel that there's a lot of storytelling really within food, and just how they make food, how anybody makes food. We had like some of the most flavorful rice and chicken. The flavors were doing something to me.
So the first time we went, what we actually saw, so we were in Rwanda. You know, they had a genocide in '94. In Rwanda, the genocide memorials and different things were more tombs where the dead ended up, right? Being at the slave castle and seeing that, it's seeing where the living were displaced. hit much differently. You could feel the spirit of the living in those places. I think everyone who was there would agree that something different took over when you were down in those dungeons. Certainly for me, the door of no return at both locations was powerful, because that was probably the first light that people had seen in months, and it was going to be the last time they were home forever.
On the ships, some of them died. They were dumping the dead bodies into the ocean. I just told you that they were raping some of them here. Those who were not seen pregnant in the dungeons, rather seen pregnant on the ships, were dumped into the ocean alive. Sometimes when they saw that the ships were overloaded, they just offloaded some of the captives to prevent sinking. And you know, due to the bodies they were constantly dumping, sharks were following the ships because they knew they were going to get something to feed on. And they were indeed feeding on the bodies. When there were food shortages on the ships, they trapped the same sharks to feed those on board. So they were eating each other's flesh indirectly.
It was hard to know that some folks never saw their families again once they stood in this place. It was hard to know that they didn't have a chance to interact with each other, because that's like putting someone that speaks Arabic and putting someone that speaks Mandarin in the same room and expecting them to figure it out. It was hard to be in those spaces, but necessary. I had a better appreciation for the struggles that they went through versus what we consider struggles now in 2024, right? It's like, okay, yeah, you're all right. You're going to be all right. Think about what our ancestors have gone through. You're going to be okay. Someone has paid the price already for you to be able to figure it out. Don't waste that opportunity.
You know, being over in Ghana and going to the enslavement castles was the hardest part of the trip for me. And it was hard because not only did we see what our ancestors went through, looking at that doorway of no return and thinking about how somebody as big as me going through what they went through by the time they were put on that boat would be 90 pounds so that they could fit on the boat, so that they wouldn't be strong enough to fight back, right? Barely alive, so then they can be sold into captivity. That hurt, right? But then I think about where we are right now, and I think about the things that we're experiencing in terms of police brutality, in terms of, you know, on every major success factor, Blacks and African Americans having this huge inequity gap, right? It's like, how much has actually changed? The feel is different, but that foot on the neck is still there, right? And it made me think about that. It also made me think about, you know, some of the organized conversations we have, right? When we're in a slave castle and we're sitting in a dungeon and on top of us is a church. What does that mean about people in charge or people in power, and what kinds of conversations they're having and who they really are as individuals, and the importance of individuals when you have a platform to speak for what's right?
One of the best experiences, one of them, was when we had the naming ceremony. And when our bus that we took, we went through the whole parts of Ghana to get to the village. It took about a couple of hours. But once we got there and we disembarked, and we were met with a welcoming crew, and they were like, welcome, welcome. And everybody got up and we started walking, and you could hear music and chanting. And as we came over the ridge, the streets were lined on both sides with the whole village. Everybody was out chanting, singing. They had the dignitaries under covering, the senior dignitaries, and we welcomed them. They welcomed us so lovingly, and everybody was just so glad to see us, and it just felt like they were saying, welcome home, we're glad you're here. And it was overwhelming, but it was such a warm feeling.
We came in, they dressed us with their finest cloths and even gave us shoes. Like, I couldn't express really in that moment. I was just having an experience for myself of, this is how they treat people, like, you know, not from their territory. They fed us and named us, gave us a name that has meaning and power, really, for us to take forward. And again, something I don't take for granted. It felt like that needed to happen, just where I was in life. And because it happened, I feel more empowered and, again, just ready to take on, whatever comes my way.
I would say Ghana was this odd combination of I'm going to fancy restaurants and super awesome cigar bars at night, and they had nightclubs and great coffee shops, and yet I'm also visiting slums and getting to know people who literally, Ghanaians get up in the morning at 6 o'clock and work till 8 o'clock at night, and nobody's complaining there. It was just, it was just a very beautiful, Ghana was a beautiful experience for me. I mean, we have in our heads that somehow America is superior at everything, and oh my God, it's scary to go to other places, including parts of Africa. And honestly, I've been to Rwanda, Uganda, Ethiopia, I've been to Ghana, at no time did I ever feel like I was in trouble. You have the opportunity to not only connect with history and trauma and roots and positive, but these are beautiful places to visit. If anything else, the people in these places are amazing. And I think it's a travesty for people that don't get the opportunity to go and reconnect with the continent.
One of the highlights for me were the pyramids in Giza. So I'll be honest, I am a history buff. I love all that man can create. And I've been underwhelmed by some things, right? And I was not sure what to think of the pyramids. I was like, are these gonna just be little cones popping out of the desert? What, really, they're 4,000 years old. What are we talking about? Weathering, what are we really going to see? And as we approached them, and then they just popped out like a skyscraper, it was like, yo, okay. And then you get to it and you're like, yo, okay. That was the most amazing thing for me, to think that I had placed my hands on something that was built 4,000 plus years ago. Seeing the Sphinx as well, understanding that it's something that's carved out of the ground and doesn't sit above ground necessarily. That was amazing.
There's nothing like being able to be on a camel in 109-degree heat, right? Experience unmatched. The food was great, right? I'm a foodie, so feed me anything. And then also, there was just a different vibe when we got off the plane. In Ghana, you felt home, you felt connected. In Egypt, it was tourist. We were there, we visited, it was great, and it was beautiful. It was a different experience for sure.
Egypt was fun. I had this longing of, wanting to see myself there, knowing that it's part of this continent. We have Egyptian queens and, just real boss women who I've grown up learning about.
So being on the trip was also very unique because of the makeup of the fellows who went. So when we do our program here in the States, our average age is 35, but in any given class, there can be someone who's, fresh out of college or fresh, just in life, 20 in their early 20s, and we could have people who are more seasoned, who are in their 60s, everybody from an engineer or an entrepreneur to a pastor or a lawyer and everything in between. And, I'm proud to say that our international leadership experience was very similar, right? We had the opportunity to have multiple generations, multiple genders, multiple just approaches and thoughts about life, people who were in medicine, people who were in business, people who were entrepreneurs and business owners, and folks who were just working, a regular 9-to-5. This is what freedom looks like. Finally being able to come back home. There was the doorway of no return. We help people return home. And that was remarkable and really special.
I think it needs to be a rite of passage for descendants of slaves in this country, because it's very important to have that connection to the land, to have the connection to where you come from, because it really comes into clearer focus when you're actually on the land and you hear the history told by people from the country. Because our tour guide Muhammad was fabulous, and he went into such detail to have us really understand the history of Ghana and the enslavers and the different colonizers. And I think it's imperative for our children, our grandchildren, for everybody, once in your life to at least go back home. And when I think of did it change me, I would say when I did come back, I realized I had manifested a dream I'd always had. So in that way, it inspired me to say, okay, for so long you sat on this and said you were going to do it, but it finally happened. So that changed me enough to understand, to maintain the faith I could do other things on that magnitude. Going to the continent, it solidified even more. I want to go back. I want to see other parts of Africa.
What I think I learned that really changed how I viewed the continent of Africa, once you get there and you see that, you see royalty. Like, we had a chance to actually meet kings and chiefs and queens, and there's nothing compared to that. To be able to be in that someone's presence that is referred to as a queen, and the way that she held herself, and the way that the people were respectful of her, and the way that the tribe interacted, a textbook can't give you that. Can't make you feel, oh my gosh, this is truly my home. Being in that space gave me a sense of royalty in myself, and I knew I needed to carry myself differently. That's what I think I learned the most.
I would say traveling there did change me as a person. It was really the moment we were in the slave dungeons, and I saw a gift basket, and there was a note on there that said, our beloved ancestors, we made it home. And I broke down in that moment, just recognizing the responsibility that I had, and just what our ancestors went through. It changed just my whole life's mission, really, in the responsibility and how I'm telling that story going forward to my children, to the next generation of, we are so much more than enslaved people. We overcame.
You know, one of the things that I've taken away from one of my trips is being over in Uganda and Rwanda. And when we were in Rwanda, there was a national day of cleaning, right? And I believe it was the last Saturday of the month. The whole country shuts down to clean up, right? Cleaning up their neighborhoods, cleaning up their yards, cleaning up the community. And it's a real thing. If you don't do it, it's punishable. It's a crime, right? But thinking about things that specifically, right, and with that kind of intention, that was just something that I learned. And coming back is just thinking about, what we do in this organization with intention. Another thing is thinking about what happened in Rwanda, and I was in high school in 1994, 1995. When the crisis was going on. The only thing I knew about that was the movie Hotel Rwanda, right? And it is absurd that information wasn't in our school books. It wasn't topics of conversation. It wasn't on the media. And seeing that experience now, 30 years later, and what that country has done in terms of peace, in terms of being neighborly, in terms of grace, in terms of brother and sisterhood, it just shows that with some real intention, amazing things can be done.
If the opportunity arises, you should definitely take it and go visit Africa, anywhere on the continent you can, because it is the cradle of life. No matter what, you are going to feel different being there. You are going to experience some form of human history that you may have not known existed. I think it's an opportunity, certainly us as Black people, African Americans in this country, to know where we came from. I encourage you to, take the opportunity, take the chance, right? It will change your life. It'll be a life-changing experience.
I think you only live once, and you're never too old, as I found out, because I understand when we get older and we tend to think, well, just like now, I know I'm never going to be a ballerina on the New York stage, okay? But I can dance on the New York stage. It's never too late. Well, you only limit yourself from what you limit yourself. And if you have the opportunity to go to Africa, to go to the land of your ancestral birth, go.
Black people were stripped of their countries, their cultures, their religions, their languages, and now people are starting to reconnect with that. And I think it's a critical component of knowing that you have a culture to connect to, that you have a home to connect to, that it's not just America, It's a tremendous sense of pride and belonging and confidence that I think all of that brings to the table. And I know that firsthand because I've been to Israel 6 times and I get the chills. And I know that some of my black brothers and sisters got the chills when they went to Ghana. So I know the feeling.
I know that ULFC is like no other. I think it's an organization that does learning, but also like self-development so well. The fact that they want to take journeys across the world to expose leaders to this continent of just exploration and learning, that's really what is stand out to me. It's important that they continue to do this because even one experience, I feel, isn't enough. We're all saying, like, we want to go back and explore another country. We want to reconnect with our people there. It really gave us new roots, I think, that are growing and flourishing. So I'm very thankful to the Urban Leadership Foundation and look forward to the next trip.
The fear of going and what you get in return is not even on a scale together. They're not even on the same page, right? Like, you're gonna be scared to go initially, and that's great. There's a fear, a healthy fear there. However, don't limit yourself in the experiences that you have. The food is fresh. Things is growing right there. The pineapple don't even look like pineapple, but it's amazing. The watermelon don't look like watermelon, but you're gonna eat it, right? Like, there are certain things that you're gonna be nervous about at first, but let yourself have that experience because you deserve that.
When you go on an emotional journey with a group of people with similarly wanting to experience the same thing, it was very much a bonding experience. I think we will forever be together on this. Wherever we see each other, no matter where we are in life, it's always going to be, you're my family, your family. It was a great experience. And we had a great group of people. You know, we all got along. There was no problems. Even when we were all stuck at the airport, it was so chilled. Everybody was coming around us because we were just such a great group of people. Yeah, forever bonded, forever.
So, you know, I guess it's kind of breaking news maybe, but we are going back to Africa in 2025, and we will be going to Ghana, and we'll be going to Senegal. And I'm really, really excited. I think Ghana is always going to be a staple for us because of the access to the enslavement castles and people really seeing that, but then also their leadership, their commitment to dual citizenships and their return to home campaign. I think that's really, really important. And then there are 54 countries in Africa, right? And we really need to get people to stop saying, hey, I'm going to Africa, right? We need to start saying, hey, I'm going to Ghana, I'm going to Senegal, right? And our goal is to hit all 54 of those countries before my time and tenure is up here.